So we're at our fourth lecture in this series, End Time Events in Parables. And we're going to be looking at 6 parables. The wise and foolish virgins, which we did last week, the wedding banquet, which we did the first part this morning. We're going to do the second part this evening. Workers in the vineyard, that's next Sabbath. Watches of the night, widow's persistence, wheat and tears. We learned this morning that the parables that Jesus spoke to the Jews were in themselves prophecies. Through the parables which Jesus spoke to the Jews, he brought their minds to what? Prophecies. And we saw this morning that when we looked at the wedding banquet in its first application, it was deeply prophetic. Did we see that?
Yes.
Yes. So we look at the wedding banquet in Matthew 22. And we saw that to understand this parable, it needs to be understood in the context of the the context of the what? Easter marriage, which has 3 phases. A contractual phase, consummation phase, and a celebration. We learned that in the contractual phase is their betrothal, the bride price is paid, the bride drinks the wine, an agreement of the marriage covenant is ratified. We looked at that. The groom gives a gift and he leaves to prepare a room for his bride. We looked at that this morning. And we saw that in that this morning that this Jesus Christ has fulfilled all of these steps. Is that so?
Yeah.
Yes. Time is going to beat me now. I won't be able to go into details as we discuss this morning. But we established this point this morning very clearly.
Yeah.
We also looked at the whole issue of the consummation. And the consummation have 2 phases. 2 phases. There's the first phase that the wedding party prepare their garments. The bridal party wait in the streets. The bridegroom returns to take his bride for the consummation of the marriage. The bridal party follows. So he goes to her father's house, pick her up and take her to his father's house for the consummation. On arrival, the bridal party waits and watches in the banquet hall. And that's the scene of the wedding banquet, where entry and invitation has been given to come into the wedding banquet. And the garments of the bridal party is examined, especially in the context when you're invited to a king's son's wedding. And the bridegroom consummates the marriage, while the friend waits closely at the door to hear that knock to say that the marriage has been consummated. And we saw that in the understanding of the wedding banquet, we need to see the church as the guest. And the same application goes to Matthew 25 as it is Matthew 22. The bridegroom being Jesus and the bride being the New Jerusalem. Also, we need to recognize that in Jewish tradition, the couple is likened to a queen and a king. So the bridegroom is seen as the king and the bride is seen as the queen. So here we are now in our discussion of the wedding banquet, the parable of the wedding banquet. Here is where it's being depicted. The guests are coming in as they respond to the different calls. They are being examined, their garment, if they are wearing the robe that's prepared by the king, while the bride and the bridegroom are within the wedding chamber consummating the marriage. So that's the structure that we're given. So we looked at the first application, the first fulfillment of the events of the parable of the wedding banquet this morning, as it relates to the Jewish nation. Yes?
Yeah.
And we saw that there was a prophetic invitation. There was a first call and a second call. Was there a third call to the Jewish nation?
No.
No. A first call and a second call. There was a third call, but third call came after probation closed, but that third call went to the Gentiles.
Yes, sir.
And we saw that there was a separation, there was destruction, and then we saw an examination. Now, here's a point I want us to appreciate. When you're looking at parables and typology being placed within that mix, what we expect to see in the second application is these same points, but not necessarily in the same order. you following me, friends?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we expect to see the similar points being fulfilled. So therefore, these points that we see here in the typical fulfillment, calling the Jews to the wedding banquet, the prophetic invitation, first call to the Jewish nation, second call to the Jewish nation in the context of the crucified Savior, probation closed to the Jews as a nation, not as individuals per se, but as a nation. Follow me now. Separation of the Christians, destruction of Jerusalem, and the execution begins of the righteous dead. That's what we saw in terms of the details. We're going to spend some time now and flesh out what's the reality to us. Because Christ's object lesson, page 317, second paragraph says, the Lord has been revealed to us in ever-increasing light. That which was type and symbol to the Jews is?
Reality.
So are you seeing the application? So the first fulfillment was type as it relates to the Jewish nation. So do you expect a second application? Or antitypical fulfillment?
Yes.
Absolutely, because that's the reality to us. And to us here, she's talking about us here, which I want to tell you who us here is soon. So I want us to be very careful. There's an application to us, and we're going to see who's the us. So we're going to look at the wedding banquet, part 2 now. The antitypical or the secondary application in the context of those points that we saw in the first application. So, Matthew 22 verse 1 says, and Jesus answered and spake unto them by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king. Who is this king here? God the Father.
Still the same God.
Yes, God the Father is the king which made a marriage for his son. Who is his son?
Christ.
Jesus Christ. So that application remains the same. It goes on to say, and sent forth the servants to call them that were bidden. But here we go to that point again. And we learn that they that were bidden from before. Didn't we learn that this morning?
Yes.
We learned that the word bidden is a prophetic invitation. So there's a prophecy that would have sent the invite out to those who are going to come in the secondary application, as there was a prophecy to invite those to come as in the first application. So what is a prophecy that serves the purpose to bid those to come in the secondary application? No need to guess, here it is.
And unto 2,000.
And unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Daniel 8 verse 14. This was a prophecy that was there to invite those who were bidden to get into the wedding banquet. Now let's put some more meaning to this now. When did this 2,300 days begin? That's a reasonable question. Let's see if we can figure it out. Know therefore understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, Daniel 9:25. We spent some time on that this morning. And we learned that the time that was given for that was found in Ezra. Ezra 7, 12, 14, and 25 and 26. We learned that this morning. We learned that the king Artaxerxes had made a decree and it instructed the going forth Jerusalem to rebuild Jerusalem and to establish magistrate, judges, and a system of government. So it's to restore physically, in terms of rebuilding the buildings that were destroyed, but also establish administrative and judicial system to govern. So it fulfilled the requirements to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. That date will be found to have been what? 457 BC. 457 BC. So therefore, using the principle that one day equal 1 year in prophetic timeline, and Numbers 14:34 and Ezekiel 4, 5, and 6 give us that understanding, let's apply this now. So, unto 2,300 days or years, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. So from 457 BC to 1844. Was the time given for the sanctuary to be cleansed? And was the time given for the bridegroom to come? Are we understanding, friends?
Yes.
So as we saw in the first fulfillment, that 70 weeks were given to the what? Jewish nation. We're seeing the second fulfillment, God gave 2,300 years. as a prophetic invitation for the second fulfillment. But they both have the same starting point. 457 BC. Who sees that?
Yes.
Everybody's clear on that? Let me go one more time, because I don't want you to miss this point. In the first application of the word bidden or the invitation, we saw that 70 years was given to the who? The Jewish nation.
Right.
And we saw the start of that was 457 BC.
See, yes.
And we saw that this 70 years was 490 years, took us all the way to AD 34. Within that time period, we had the invitation that was what? Sent out to those who were bidden. That's invitation.
Right.
In the second application, until 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Now you must be asked yourself, what's the link between the sanctuary being cleansed and the bridegroom coming? I'm going to explain that soon enough. I'm going to show you the link now in terms of the time period in the prophecy. So I'm going to show a link between the cleansing of the sanctuary and the bridegroom coming. To enter in for the wedding banquet. But I'm going to explain that a little bit later on. I'm just establishing the prophetic invitation that both primary and secondary fulfillment, both are the what? Prophetic invitation. Are we clear on that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so still my job to show you the link between the sanctuary being cleansed and the bridegroom coming to the wedding banquet. Alright? Still my job. I'm going to get that done by God's grace soon enough. I'm just establishing that prophetic invitation. Now, let's go further. And send forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. So clearly, the invitation was there in the Word of God. But God sent servants to what? No. Call those to what? To come to the wedding banquet. So who were the persons sent? Who are these servants that God used in the reality, as we learn, to call those to come? Well, Matthew 24:45 gives us, make it quite clear. Who then is that faithful and wise servant whom his Lord had made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? We learned last week that meat in due season is what? Present truth. So God is going to send for the servants to give a present truth message in the context of this 2,300-day prophecy, which we said start 457 BC and end when? 1844. So we learned that William Miller, who were the servants sent to make the call, William Miller, and he was a faithful and wise servant. Others came with him. He was a man, especially chosen of God, to lead out in the proclamation of Christ's second coming. Great Controversy 370. No, the others, guys, said servants.
Yes.
Yes, there are other servants who joined William Miller. And I won't be able to go into the history of these men. But Joshua Hines, does that name sound familiar?
Yeah,
Joseph Bates, Charles Fitch, and Josiah Lynch. These were men who joined with William Miller to bring forth a message to what now? Call. Friends, are you following me?
yes.
To call those who were bidden. Let me go one more time. To call those who were bidden. So they study this prophecy and they use the day for a year principle, but they believe the sanctuary was the earth. They believe the sanctuary was the earth. So they concluded, William Miller as early as 1818 concluded that Jesus Christ would come to cleanse the earth with fire between the spring of 1843 and the spring of 1844. And William Miller began preaching this message from as early as 1831. He starts to preach the message publicly. Now, let's go a little deeper now. So here was William Miller's message. Jesus will come sometime between the spring of 1843 and the spring of 1844 to judge the earth through the cleansing with fire. Now, so that was a framework. But what was the call now? We're going to get into the call. So we have identified so far that there was a prophetic invitation, yes?
Yes.
We have identified that the servants were sent, yes?
Yes.
But what was the call made? And to who was the call made? In the secondary application. In the first application, the call, we learned that the call was made to the Jewish nation. But who are the people called? Or who is the nation or the group of people called in the second application? We're going to spend some time to understand that now. Alright, so let's be patient. So the call, and he sent for the servants to call them which were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. No. Here is the group that was called. Listen carefully. I'm reading from a quotation from the book Daniel and the Revelation, page 591, the first paragraph. Uriah Smith wrote this book. He was contemporary to much of these occurrences. Are you following me so far? Friends, are you following me?
Yes.
So I'm giving you a first-hand view here, not second or third-hand view. Someone who was contemporary to much of this occurrence. Alright, we're good so far. Hear what he says now. On this point, we refer to a movement of which it would now be hard to find anyone who is wholly ignorant. So you understand what he's saying?
Yes.
He's going to make reference to a movement that nobody can deny, because it's well known by everybody. It is the great Advent movement of the present century. As early as 1831, here's the name again, William Miller of Lowhampton, New York, by an earnest and consistent study of the prophecies, was led to the conclusion that the gospel dispensation was near its close. Jesus Christ is going to come and cleanse the earth with fire. He placed the termination which he thought would occur at the end of the prophetic periods. Are you hearing that?
Yes.
Prophetic periods is which prophetic period here? The what? The one that says the prophetic invitation.
Right.
Yes? About the year 1843. This day was afterward extended to what? The autumn of what? 1844. So watch it carefully now. So the message was going to the Advent movement between 1831, when William Miller first started preaching the message publicly, to the autumn of 1844. Friends, are you understanding that?
Yes. Yes.
So in the secondary application, the call is going out now to a movement.
Yeah.
The Advent movement. We got that, friends? William Miller's message was to the Advent movement. His message rose up a people who was looking for who to come?
Right.
Jesus Christ to come. So let's look at it in some more details now. So we look at the call now. Now, the year 1831 to 1844 is where this Advent movement, and I'm going by an eyewitness who was there, Uriah Smith from the book Daniel and Revelation. And he's making it quite clear that no one can contest this because it was well known. Now, let's go into the call now. So the first call to the Advent movement was a message to the Church of Philadelphia, message to the Philadelphia Church between 1831 to 1844. Now, we know that the Bible describes 7 churches, yes?
Yes.
And each church is a period of time. Corresponding to Miller's message of 1831 to 1844 is the church of the what? Philadelphia period. So what message that went to the church at that time would be applicable in the context of our discussion? Are you understanding the message so far?
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit deep, but I hope you understand it so far. Alright, so let's go now. We're going to look now at what was the message that was brought forth to the Philadelphia church, which will be applicable as it relates to William Miller making his call to the Advent movement between 1831 and 1844. Now let's look at that. Revelation 3:78 says what? So this is the call to the church of Philadelphia, which is essence the Advent movement. Are you following me, friends? Friends, are you following me?
Yes.
The call to Philadelphia is the Advent movement. Amen?
Yes.
Alright, good. We're clear on that. Please, yes, very good. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia, right? These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works, behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it, for thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. So the message to the church of Philadelphia, or the Advent movement, seen in the book of Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 and 8, was that there's a door that is what? Open. And there's a key called the key of David that has opened this door. Now, what you can understand and consider from it earlier is no, that this door must be understood in the context of the wedding banquet. So a door is open. And we learn that this door must be understood in the context of the wedding banquet. So a door open, that means people are supposed to go what? In. They could come out likewise, which we're going to see. But it's in the context, it is for what? Entry. Now, we're going to spend some time on that now. So here's the question I'm going to ask. What does it mean of the key of David? Because the key of David is what opened the what? The door. Have we seen that? So the call to the church of Philadelphia, or the call to the Advent movement between 1831 and 1844, is that door is opened by the key of David. Alright, let's look at that now. Now, Isaiah 22:23 gives us an idea about this key. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. Now, when it's talking about this, it's talking about the high priesthood. In one sense, Isaiah was talking about Eliakim, the high priest. But if you apply the principles of typology, who is the high priest? Jesus Christ. So the key of David is where? Laid upon his shoulder. So, in the context of the high priest, the key of David is laid upon the high priest's shoulder. Let's look carefully now. And the key of the house of David will I lay upon his shoulder. So he shall open and none shall shut. Here the same word being used. And he shall shut and none shall open. You realize the same words that's been used. As we saw in Revelation chapter 3. See there? And no man shutteth and shutteth no man openeth. See friends, the same words being used. And none shall shut and he shall shut and none shall open. Are you seeing it, friends? Same phraseology being used. Now, and I will fasten him as a nail in a sure place, and he shall be for a glorious throne to his father's house. So in the secondary application there is not talking about the human priesthood, but whose house? God's house. So who is this priest here with this key on his shoulder, house of David? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. So we still no one says yet, what's the key? What we know is that the key opened a door that no man can shut. And the key is on the high priest's work. Shoulder. So let's go a little deeper now. What is the significance of his shoulder? Isaiah 9 verse 6 says, for unto us a child is born. Who is this child? Jesus. Unto us a son is given. And the government shall be upon his shoulder.
So there's the key.
So the key is resting on the shoulder of Jesus. And it has to do with his what? His governance or his government. Are we seeing that? His authority. Now let's clinch the nails now. We have driven nails in the point. Let's clinch the nails to make it sharp and sure. Now Isaiah 9 verse 7 continues to say. So we just learned that the government is upon his shoulder. I will learn that the key of David is upon the high priest's shoulder. Alright, very good. Now hear what Isaiah 9 verse 7 says. And of the increase of his government, same government on his shoulder, and peace there shall be no end, unto the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice. So the key upon the high priest's shoulder, it has to do with his governance and ultimately has to do with his ability to do what? Judge and establish what? Justice. You got that, friends?
Yes.
To judge and to establish justice. So, here is the picture of the high priest's shoulder. Of the high priest. On his shoulder was the ephod. So Jesus, our high priest, king, who bears the key of David, the ephod, which is a symbol of his authority to what? Establish his kingdom with what? Judgment and justice. So the message, the call to the Advent movement between 1831 and 1844, the Church of Philadelphia, is that the key of David has been used by the what? High priest to open a door. What key? The key of his authority to what? Judge and establish what? Justice. Friends, are you going to understand the point?
Yes. Yes.
Alright, very good. Now, so, unto the angel of the church in Philadelphia is right. These things said he that is holy, that is true, he that hath the key of the, he openeth and no man what? Shut it. Openeth what? Revelation 11:19 says, and the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in this temple the ark of his testament. And this ark was careful to put the key in the heart under the high priest Jesus Christ. Wearing the what? Ephod. So he has the authority to what? Open the door from the what? Holy to the most holy, to do a work of judgment and justice. By whose authority? His authority, because the government stands on it, rests on what? His shoulder. Friends, I know it's kind of deep this evening, but I told you it's going to be deep. I can't make it any easier. So we appreciate that point, friends. Are we together so far?
Yes.
So we see here that the call to the church of Philadelphia, a call to the Advent movement from 1831 to 1844 was a door is what? Has been opened by who? Jesus Christ as the one. High priest using what? The key of David, which is what? His authority. Which authority? His authority of governance through justice and judgment. So he's opening the door to do a work of what? Judgment. Now, so that was a message being brought to this Advent movement. Now, initially they expected Christ to come sometime in 1844, but then later that year, clearer message came, clearer light came from Samuel Snow, one of these servants that was sent to call the Advent movement. And they learned at this camp meeting in Exeter that the 2,300 days ended in 1844, yes, but specifically it synchronized with the Day of Atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th Jewish month, and Christ will come on October 22nd, 1844. But the message to them that they were supposed to go where? Go where? In the what? From the holy to the most holy place, because who had opened that door? Christ. Could anybody shut the door? No. They're going to enter in and do a work of justice, but essentially I want a work of what? Judgment. An investigative judgment. And looking under what? Garment. Friends, are you following?
Yes.
No. 50,000 left these fallen churches in the Second Advent movement. October 22nd, 1844 came. The 2,300 days ended. That typical Day of Atonement ended. And there was a great disappointment. Jesus Christ didn't come as they expected. But let me ask a question now. The parable in Matthew 22 said something very interesting. It says that the call went out the first time, and they would not what? Come. So 50,000 left these fallen churches. I wonder how many really came into the wedding banquet. Let's ask a question. How did the Advent believers respond to the great disappointment? We're going to look at three groups in a very quick succession. So those who had this great disappointment, who were looking forward to enter in through this open door, enter into this wedding banquet. There are three groups amongst those. Let's look at the three groups. One group said something special did happen on October 22nd, 1844, but it was not the second Advent. One group believed that. One group believed that nothing happened on October 22nd, 1844. That the experience during this period was just fanciful, nothing happened. One group were described as spiritualizers, believed that Christ had returned on October 22nd, 1844, but it had been a spiritual coming, a mystical coming. And that group was filled with fanaticism, charismatic enthusiasm, and refused to work. Now we're going to go at all three groups now in detail using the spirit of prophecy. And I'm making this point to establish the point that when it says they would not come, meaning that they did not enter in, even though 50,000 left the fallen churches, many of them didn't go with Jesus, or they went and they turned back. So let's establish that now. So we're going to look at a group that said something special happened. This is a minority. Probably about 50 out of the 50,000. This is church listening. 50,000 believed they wanted to enter into the wedding banquet. They want to meet the bridegroom on the street and they want to go into the wedding banquet. 50,000. At the end of the disappointment, there was only about 50 remaining. So 49,950 did not enter into this through this open door. Only about 50 went in. So let's hear about these 50 that went in now. Early writings, page 55. I saw the Father rise from the throne and in a flaming chariot go into the Holy of Holies or the Most Holy. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Within the veil and sit down. Because was that door open?
Yes.
Yes. Then Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him. So look promising, right? I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose, and they were left in perfect darkness. Those who arose when Jesus did kept their eyes fixed on him as he left the throne and led them out at glory. So many were there ready to go in. But something interesting happened. They were the careless. And what happened? They took their eyes, did not see one of them were from Jesus to the careless after he rose, and they were left in perfect darkness. No. Then he raised his right arm, and we heard his lovely voice saying, "Wait here. I'm going to my Father to receive the kingdom. Keep your garments how? So are you saying that they were clothed in their robe and entered into the wedding banquet, and Christ says, wait here in the wedding banquet. Wait here. Why? In a little while I will what?
Return.
And a little while I return from the wedding and receive you to my... So he's saying, wait here in the wedding banquet. I'm going to go further to what? Consummate the marriage, but wait where? Here. As you go through the door from the holy to the most holy place with me, wait here in the most holy place. I'm going a little bit further to what? Consummate the wedding. And I'll come back. I will return from the wedding to receive you unto myself. Then a cloudy chariot which wheels like flaming fire, surrounded by angels, came to where Jesus was. He stepped in the chariot and was borne to the holiest where the Father sat. So they went in with him. Stay here, I'm going to go further in. Are we good so far? No, that's the first group. That was only about 50. What happened to this other 49,950? Let's hear what happened. Some believe that nothing happened on October 22nd, 1844. That's the second group. Helen White giving our first vision now, giving the account of this second group. While I was praying at the family altar, the Holy Ghost fell upon me, and I seemed to be rising higher and higher, far above the world, the dark world. I turned to look for the Advent people in the world. They are the one that the call came to, remember? Yes? But could not find them. When a voice said to me, look again, and I looked a little bit higher. At this I raised my eyes and saw a straight and narrow path, cast up high above the world. On this path, the Advent people were traveling to the city, which was at the farther end of the path. Listen now. Early writings, page 14 says, they had a bright light set up behind them at the beginning of the path, which an angel told me was a midnight cry. This light shone all along the path and gave light for their feet so that they might not stumble. If they kept their eyes fixed on Jesus, who was just before them, leading them to the city, they were safe. Now, let me carefully now. Talk about the second group that said nothing happened. Look what happened to them now. But soon some grew weary and said the city was a great way off, and they expected to have entered it before. Then Jesus would encourage them by raising his glorious right arm, and from his arm came a light which waved over the Advent band, and they shouted, Hallelujah. Others rashly denied the light behind them and said that it was not God that had led them out so far. The light behind them went out, leaving their feet in perfect darkness, and they stumbled and lost sight of the mark and of Jesus, and fell off the path down to the dark and wicked world below. So the second group, what happened to them?
Some went in, some didn't.
They dropped off.
Right, they dropped off.
So the first group, about 50 went in and stayed in. Others got up, but they got what? Weary and wet, and fell away. Now the third group now, spiritualizers who believe that Christ had returned in October 22nd, 1844, but he came in some spiritual coming, and they were fanatics and charismatic enthusiasts, and speaking in tongues and all this nonsense. That's the talk about Advent believers now. Let's look at some more details now, alright? Early writings, page 56. I turned to look at the company who were still bowed before the throne. they did not know that Jesus had left it. You got that, friends?
Yeah.
So those who are in the holy place did not move.
They're gone. They're still waiting.
They're still there in the holy place, still waiting. Was the door open?
Yes.
Yes. Was a call made that the door is open?
Yes.
By the high priest?
Yes.
Who has the authority to open that door? Because he has the government on his shoulder.
Yes.
With justice and what?
Judgment.
And judgment.
Yes.
Satan appeared to be by the throne trying to carry on the work of God. I saw them look up to the throne and pray, Father, give us thy spirit. Satan would then breathe upon them an unholy influence. In it there was light and much power, but no sweet love, joy, and peace. Satan's object was to keep them deceived and to draw back and deceive God's children. So we learn, friends, 50,000 left the fallen churches. 49,951. Either didn't go in or went in and turned back and fell off. And 50 went in. And that's why the parable said, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not what? Would not come. So that's the first call to the Advent believers between 1831 to 1844. No, the second call now. And he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready, and come unto the marriage. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. Listen carefully now. So a second call going out to who now? The Advent movement. Are you seeing that, church?
Yes.
The first call went out to the Advent movement. The second call going to the Advent movement now. Now, who were these servants sent? I said he sent his servants. Here are the servants that were sent. These are some of the servants that were sent. Rachel Oakes, Thomas Preble, Joseph Bates, James and Ellen White. Essential persons who was a part of the Advent movement after 1844. These people were essential in forming and establishing much of the doctrines of the church after 1844, when the second call came out. So the second call is the call to the church of Laodicea. Now, I'm going to get a little bit sharp now. And I want you guys to bear with me. I want everyone to be sitting up wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Now, we're going to get into the issues now of life and death. So I'm not going to play around now. Let's get serious now. The second call to the Advent movement has gone out already.
Yes.
It's the call to the church of Laodicea from 1844 and it will continue to the close of probation to the Seventh-day Adventist church. Now, let's get into this. The foolish virgins, the Laodicean state. Review and Herald, book 2, page 2420 says what? The state of the church represented by the foolish virgins is also spoken of the Laodicean state. So within this movement, there are wise virgins and there are foolish virgins. And the foolish virgins are in what kind of state? Laodicean state. And we learned last week that the parable of Matthew 25 applied to who? Seventh-day Adventists. Are we clear on that? Applied to the Advent people, both in its first application as the Advent movement, second application in form of the Seventh-day Adventist people. Are we clear, friends? No. Review and Herald, book 3, page 483 said, those who would be ready to meet their Lord must keep their lamps filled with the oil of grace. It was a neglect to do this that distinguishes foolish virgins from the wise. They are lamps but no oil. Their characters could not stand the test. So after the 1844 movement, everybody's still at their lamp. But we've seen a neglect. And in this context, the call to Laodicea came out as, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. So Laodicea is a church of works, but faithless works. The church listening to me.
Yes.
This Seventh-day Adventist movement, a continuation of the Second Advent movement from 1831 to 1844, the continuation from that from 1844 going forward is a people of works. I know thy works, but it's faithless works. And for that reason, you're neither cold nor hot. I would you were either cold or hot. Yes. God required if we're cold. Cold how? Cold in repentance. Cold in seeking Him. Or hot. Fervent in doing His work. But no, we're what? Lukewarm. And our state is even worse than that. No, this message to the Laodiceans is applicable to what? Seventh-day Adventists who have had great light and have not walked in the light. It is those who have made great profession but have not kept in step with their leader that will be spewed out of his mouth unless they repent. Kept in step with him, yes. He has moved from the what? Holy to the what? Most holy. So they have not kept in step with him. Please, young man, have a seat. They have not kept in step with him. No. Here is a sadful state of us, Seventh-day Adventists. Those who the second call has come to. Those who are part and the continuation of the Advent movement. Revelation 3 verse 17 says, because thou sayest, who says it? Does God say that they're rich or they say that they're rich? They say that they're rich. Because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing. And know it's not. So we are in a state where we are increasing goods. But God is giving the right diagnosis. You don't know, you know not what? That thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. Continue in verse 18. Revelation 3 verse 18. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. Friends, are you hearing me? Let me put it so you understand. The first call to the Advent movement from 1831 to 1844 is that door is open. Amen. Enter in. Yes. The second call, you need to enter in, yes, but you must have what? Faith tried in fire, the right clothing, and your eyes must be able to what? See.
So that's your goal.
Friends, are you following the message, friends? The first call from 1831 to 1844 is that door is open. But for you to enter in, what must you have in the second call? You must have gold tried in fire. The white raiment, and your eyes must be anointed so you can see. What does that mean? The white raiment is the righteousness of Christ, the wedding garment which Christ alone can give. Amen. So the message to the early Advent movement, 1831 to 1844, a door has been opened. Enter in. Yes. But they would not enter in. Some entered in. The second call went out now to us as Seventh-day Adventists from 1844 going forward is what? Enter in, but you must have what? The white robe, the garment. That's right. Because Christ is going to do a work of what? Right. Inspection, judgment. Does he have the right? Yes, how so? Because he has the key of David. He has the authority of governance. So, Review and Herald, July 23rd, 1889. We thank God that there are souls who realize that they're in need of something which they do not possess. Goal of faith and love. So before we can enter in, we must have what? Our faith tried in fire. Amen. I thank God for the hard time out in Jamaica. I thank God for my 2 heart attacks that I've survived. I thank God that I'm not as strong as I was before. I thank God that I still have the marks of my illness in my body. I thank God. Why? Because God has given me what? Faith testing what? Fire. Amen. Yes. Faith testing fire. Thank God. And white raiment of what? Christ. Righteousness. And eye salve of spiritual discernment. This is what, and that is what is required and mentioned in the second call to the Advent movement. Now this, I want everyone to take a picture of this slide. And before you go to your bed tonight, you're going to read it several times. Your soul salvation rests and hangs on this slide. But here's the reason why this slide. I spent 3 days looking for this slide. 3 days. until I found it. Hear why it's so important. And the third angel message is the last warning to the world. Friends, are you hearing that?
Yes.
Sir.
The three angel messages are not per se for the Advent movement. It's for the what?
Word.
The world. Do we understand that, church?
Yes.
Lord.
Seventh-day Adventists, listen carefully now. The three angel messages are not primarily for Seventh-day Adventists. They are for the what?
Word.
Word.
Let me say it really one more time. I'm going to tarry you a little bit.
Word.
As the third angel message is the last warning to the world.
So,
We got that, friends?
yes.
So we believe the counsel to the Laodiceans to be what? The last to the church.
Oh, wow.
Church, do you hear that?
Amen.
The first call has gone out. The second call has gone out. There shall be no third call to this Seventh-day Adventist remnant church.
Amen.
Deal with the church.
Amen.
I preached at that church before and the pastor and everybody got upset with me.
That's true.
Yes, they were upset with me. Very upset, as a matter of fact. Audibly and visibly upset. Because we believe that there's going to be a third call.
Nope.
The first call has gone out. The door is open. Second call is gone out. Have faith tested in fire. Have Christ's robe of righteousness and have eyesight of discernment.
Right.
No other call going to the Seventh-day Adventist church.
Lord.
Let's deal with that. Two calls went to the Jewish nation. Two calls. As a people talk, as a nation. People. I'm not talking individually, I'm talking collectively now. Follow me now. So collectively, for the Jewish nation there were what? How many calls? Two calls. For the Advent movement, how many calls? Two calls. First call, the message to the church of Laodicea. Second call, no, the first call, the message to the church of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
The second call, message to the church of Laodicea. No other call. Friends, do you understand the gravity of what we just read a while ago?
Can't be another third call.
Let me tell you the gravity of what we read a while ago. When I preached in that church, everybody in the church got upset with me. They were visibly upset. I preach it still, guys, it's true. You know why we're upset? We expect God's going to tell us another message to wake us up.
No, there's no more.
There's no more message to come to the Adventist church as a people.
That's right.
God may speak to each of us individually. I'm not saying name. But as a people, two calls. Two calls have gone out already. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. Yes, I've experienced this. I've preached the same message. And so it was with the pioneers. When they preach this message, what have we done with our pioneers? All these people, what we have done what? We have entreated them poorly and slew them. You go in some church and you mention Ellen G. White. You mention this beautiful lady's name. Oh, bless that lady's soul. Eh? You mention her name. You mention her husband James White's name. Eh? You mention these people's name. They throw you out of the church. So we are in fulfillment of this. And the remnant took his servants. Here are the servants. Yeah? And did what? Entreated them spitefully and slew them. No, we can't even preach their word. We kill their writings. And people live on in their writings. Isn't that so, friends? Yes. We kill their writings. You go to a certain church and you see the spirit of prophecies in the garbage bin. Tears come to your eyes and your heart break. Oh, we are wicked. We are wicked. Hold up the question, my sister, until I'm finished. We are wicked and rebellious people. Oh God, wake up this Adventist. Hold your question, my sister, until I finish, I said. No, hold your point, my sister, until I please be obedient. I'm going to ask questions afterwards. Let the preacher finish what he has to say. I'll take your questions afterwards. Or your comments. Let's continue, Virgin. And Matthew 22:11-12 says what? And when the king came into what? See the guests. He saw there a man which not had what? Wedding garment. And he said unto him, friend. You know who else Christ said to friend? You know who else Christ said to friend? Judas. When Judas came and preached Christ, what did Christ say to him? Friend, is this how you want to betray the Son of Man? What's what he said?
Yes.
So he's speaking about who was Judas? He was an insider.
He was next to Christ.
So when he came to see the guests, he saw a supposed Seventh-day Adventist insider.
Yep.
And he said, Seventh-day Adventist friend.
That's right.
How camest thou in the wedding not having a wedding garment? How you came in? Did you hear the message to the church of Laodicea that you must be what? Clothed in the white raiment? Didn't you see that you must be ready? Didn't you have the faith right to know that you must be ready? Christ of the Lessons 3:10 first paragraph. By the king's examination of the guests at the feast is represented a work of judgment. Are you seeing that, friends?
Yes.
So the door was open and Christ stepped in as the high priest to do a work of what? Judgment and justice. The guests at the gospel feast are those who profess to serve God, those whose names are in the book of life, but not all who profess to be Christians are true disciples. Before the final reward is given, it must be decided who are fitted to share the inheritance of the righteous. Now, here's a point I want to make the point. Here's a point that we struggle with. And here's the reason why the pastor and the others got upset in the church. Here's the reason why. Spirit of prophecy reading from again. God allows to all nations a certain period of what? Probation. I will learn that the Jewish nation had a probation when the last message that Christ spoke to them. Remember we discussed that? Their probation ended in AD 34 with the stoning of who? Stephen. Does the Adventist Church have a probation?
Yes.
Well, let us see. Let's not guess. Again, from the spirit of prophecy. I point them, so she's talking to people who have questions. I point them to the Jewish nation and ask, must we leave our brethren to pass over the same path of blind resistance till the end of probation? If ever people needed true and faithful watchmen who will not hold their peace, who will cry day and night, sounding the warning God has given, it is the Seventh-day Adventists.
Right.
Those who have had great light, blessed opportunities, who, like Capernaum, have been exalted to heaven in the point of privilege, shall they, by non-improvement, be left to darkness, correspond to the greatness of the light given. So, the implication here is this. As the Jewish nation at the end of probation, so shall they? Seventh-day Adventists. We're talking as a people. We talk about the Jewish nation as a people. We talk about the Seventh-day Adventists as a people. So as nations have a close of probation, so does a people have a close of probation. So the question is, what is the signal that probationary time is ended for Seventh-day Adventists? We learned before that the signal that probation had ended for the Jews was stoning of who? Stephen. So what's the signal that probation had closed for will close for Seventh-day Adventists? Let us see. Well, let us see. No. Just about the time in 1888 when the message of Jesus' righteousness, the loud cry, was first proclaimed in the USA Congress, Senator Blair had introduced his Blair Act to pass a national son law. This is history, friends. I'm not reading anything new. This is history.
That's right, history.
At about the same time, around 1887 to 1888, E.G. White penned the next two statements. So let me put in context. So there was an agitation in 1888 for a son law to be passed. Listen to me carefully. And Ellen G. Wright is writing the next two statements in the context of the what? The son law that could have been passed.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
So she said, if the son law passed, this is what it would have meant for us as Adventists. Are you following me so far?
Yes.
Let's see what you have to say in these two statements. She says this. It is no time to be ashamed. That's his fifth testimony, it's 526 first paragraph. It is no time to be ashamed of our faith. We are a spectacle to the world, to angels and to men. The whole universe is looking with inexpressible interest to see the closing work of the great controversy between Christ and Satan. At such a time as this, which time? At such a time as the son law was being agitated. Such time as this then means son law was being agitated. Just as the work of judging the world, living is to begin. Shall we allow unsanctified ambition to take possession of the heart? So she saw in the agitation of law being passed, judgment shifting from the righteous dead to the righteous living. Look at another statement now. Wow. 6 Testimonies 130. Now when the great work of judging and living is about to begin, shall we allow unsanctified ambition to take possession of the heart and lead us to neglect the education required to meet the needs in this day of peril? So again, she saw that the judgment shifting from the righteous dead, which started in 1844, would have shifted to the righteous what? Living when the what? Sunday law would have been passed. Because that was what was being agitated and topical in the Congress. So, from our two statements written in the time context of the then threatened national Sunday law, E.G. White here indicates that if the Blair Act had passed, it would have signaled the commencement of the judgment of the righteous living and a blotting out of their sins. But judgment begins with who first? Judgment begins with the house of God. 1 Peter 4:7 said, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begins with at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? No, I want you to listen. I want you to get this point. Get this point. Get this point. Don't miss this point. People read this and say, but that it doesn't say Seventh-day Adventist. It does say Seventh-day Adventist. Let me prove it to you. Who are the people that supposedly obey all of God's commandments?
We're supposed to.
And if it first begins at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? You got that, friends?
Yes.
We got that, brethren?
Yes.
So judgment begins with who? Those who what? Obey the gospel of God. In principle at least.
Yes.
All the gospel of God, including all of 10 commandments. Judgment begins with who? Seventh-day Adventists first. So the Sunday law passed, judgment shift from the righteous dead to the righteous living. Who got the judgment first? Seventh-day Adventists. So our probation what? Close right there. As a people. As a people. So they're going to be a separation. As we learned before, remember we learned before? There was a separation where the Christians left what? Pella, remember?
Yes.
Yes? Let's look at the separation. The shaking and the sifting. Messages, second selected messages, 13 first paragraph. There is to be a shaking amongst God's people. But this is not the present truth to be carried to churches. It will be the result of refusing the truth presented. As the church kicked against the message to Laodicea, they shall be shaken out. So let me be very careful. Those who are hearing me and those listening on the video, if you kick at the message you are hearing now, you shall be shaken out. I want to be that clear. Evangelism, page 224, third paragraph. The enemy will bring in false theories such as the doctrine that there is no sanctuary. This is one of the points on which there will be a departing from the faith. And it's starting to happen already. God, last events, page 180, third paragraph. Soon God's people will be tested by what? Fire what? Trials. And the great proportion of those who now appear to be genuine and true will be proved to be base metal. Second selected message 368. When the law of God is made void, the church will be sifted by what? Fiery trials. Amen. When the Sunday law is passed, probation closed for Adventists, and we come into judgment, and our garments are being looked at. They're going to be a shaking and a sifting. The sifting going to be by fiery trials. And we're going to see whether or not we're wearing Christ's righteousness or our own filter racks. And we're self-deceived people. But praise be to God. So there's going to be an investigation. Names are going to be kept in the book of life. Names are going to be tossed from the book of life. There's going to be a shaking and a sifting. God is going to have his group there ready now. And that group shall go therefore into the highways, and as many as they shall find, bid to the marriage. Testimonies for the church 997. Time of God's destructive judgment is a time of mercy for those who have had no opportunity to learn what is truth. Tenderly with the Lord look upon them. His heart of mercy is touched. His hand is still stretched out to save, while the door is closed to those who would not enter. So the door that is Christ open is going to be left open for those who have not heard the truth. But the Advent movement, those apostate Adventists, the door shall be what? Closed to them. And they shall be what? Out of the wedding banquet. And those who come in their funny looking robes, they're going to be what?
Tossed out.
Tossed out. No. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as that would be found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. Bidding to others to the wedding banquet. And I, Revelation, this is the bidding now. So this is the call now. This is the call, the bidding now for those to come in. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Who is this angel now? Who is the angel that's going to call in those Gentiles, those non-Seventh-day Adventists, those people who are not privileged to hear the message that you are hearing now? In the primary sense, who it is? The great outpouring of the Spirit of God, which lightens the world, whole earth with His glory, will not come until we have an enlightened people who know by experience what it means to be laborers together with God. So in the primary sense, the Spirit of God is going to pour out in full measure. In the secondary sense, it's going to be what? The movement. Great controversy 604. And hence the movement symbolized by the angel coming down from heaven. That's Revelation 18:1 angel. Lighting the earth with his glory. Crying mightily with a strong voice, announcing the sins of Babylon. Friends, this, when Revelation 18:1 angel joined his voice to the third angel message swelled to a what? Loud cry. Early writings 277, 278. The work of this angel comes in at the right time to join in the last great work of the third angel message as it swells to a what? Loud cry. I saw a great light resting upon them, and they united to fearlessly proclaim the third angel message. This message now is going to be the third call, not to Seventh-day Adventists, because their two calls are gone already. Probation closed as a group. These are people who did not have the opportunity to hear the message. The message goes out to them now. But here's the point. I sat there and put in this slide because it's so important. I sat down and put it in. I was shown that the testimony to the Laodiceans applies to God's people, the Seventh-day Adventists, at the present time, that they may be favored with the presence of Jesus and be fitted for the loud cry. First Testimony 1:86. Point of emphasis. If you refuse to accept the counsel to the Laodiceans and kick at it, you shall not be fitted for the loud cry, and you shall be amongst the group to be shaken out. Let that soak into the church. I want you to read it and understand what is being said there. So the message that God is giving us, the call, the second call, the message to Laodicea is a message not only for us to enter in, but it fits us to get the loud cry when the loud cry needs to go out in its fullest. Friends, we get that, friends? Let's go one more time. The message, the second call is a call to the church to Laodicea. In that call is a counsel to the Laodicean church. I solve Christ's robe of righteousness and faith tried in fire. We need to embrace those, and it needs to be a part of us to be fitted as we fit in clothing, so we can be able to swell the message of the third angel when he gives a loud cry. Amen. I'm wrapping up now. Revelation 18:2-3, the angel's message goes out and says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye be received not of her plagues. This message is not for Seventh-day Adventists. This message is a part of the third call to the Gentiles, the non-Seventh-day Adventists who did not have the opportunity to hear the message. And early writing 261 says, first paragraph, and I saw that God has honest children among the nominal Adventists and the fallen churches. Let me explain this nominal Adventists. These are not Seventh-day Adventists. These are nominal. Nominal means in name only. So these are people who believe in Christ's second coming, but in name only. They don't understand what we understand. So these nominal Adventists are not Seventh-day Adventists. There are Sunday-keeping churches and other even Sabbath-keeping churches who are Adventists in terms of looking for the second coming in what? Nominally, in what? Name only. Are we getting friends?
Yes.
So don't leave here and say, oh, nominal Adventists are Seventh-day Adventists. No. These are people who are looking for Christ coming in name only, but they don't understand that we know. So is there hope for them? Yes.
Yes.
So let's read in that context now.
They're gonna come.
I saw that God has honest children among the nominal Adventists and the fallen churches. Those are the Sunday churches.
Yeah.
And before the plague shall be poured out, ministers and people will be
Call out.
from these
Church.
and will gladly
Receive the truth. Thank you, Jesus.
call out. They are the one going to respond to the one. Third call.
Yes, that's right.
See, third call, call out. Earlier writing is 271. Some have been shaken out and left by the way. The careless and indifferent who did not join with those who had prized victory and salvation enough to perseverely plead and agonize for it, did not obtain it. And they were left behind in darkness. And their places were immediately filled by others taking hold of the truth and coming in the ranks.
Amen.
Maranatha 205 and 6. Men of true Christian principle will take their place and will become faithful, trustworthy householders to advocate the word of God in its true bearings, in its simplicity. The Lord will work so that the disaffected ones will be separated from the true and loyal ones. There's going to be a separation, friends. The ranks will be dismissed, will not be diminished. Those who are firm and true will close up the vacancies that are made by those who became offended and were apostatized. So apostate Adventists will be shaken out and sifted out. And their place can be taken in by those who respond to the third call.
Amen.
When the king thereof heard thereof, he was wroth and sent for his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then said he to his servants, when it is ready, when they which were ready were bidden were not worthy. Friends, Christ Adolescence, page 202, third paragraph. The tears which Christ shed upon Olivet as he stood overlooking the chosen city were not for Jerusalem alone. In the fate of Jerusalem, he beheld the destruction of the what?
Word.
So in the first application, destroying their city was destroying not Jerusalem. In the secondary application is the destruction of the world. By what?
Fire.
By the 7 last plagues. And when we discuss this, the part of the wheat and the tares, I'm going to show you that many Adventists are going to be destroyed during these 7 last plagues. They're going to be the tares that's going to be bound in bundle and burned with fire.
Yes.
Those apostate Adventists. Those compromising Adventists.
Yes.
Compromising their lifestyle.
Yes.
Dress reform.
Everything.
Dietary reform. Rebellious people. Disregarding the word of God and his standards. Disregarding the spirit of prophecy. Those who cry and say, peace, peace,
That's right.
when there's trouble in the land. Those who cry and says, oh, we're waiting for the third call.
It's not for you.
They're going to be burned with fire. We're going to discuss that when we discuss the parable of the wheat and the tares. My last slide says, or my last few slides says, many are called, but what? Few are chosen. Friends, what have we studied? We have seen the events in the second application. The first call to the Advent movement to the wedding banquet. The message to Philadelphia. Which one? A door has been what? Open. Enter in. 50,000 believe they entered in. But a total of only about 50 really entered in. Out of 49,950 said, nothing happened. Or, we're staying right here. And they got caught up with the throne of Satan and they were deceived and became fanatics. The second call to Advent movement to enter the wedding banquet is with the message to ladies here. If you're going to enter this wedding banquet, you got to be wearing Christ's robe of righteousness that only him alone can give. Your eyes have to have eyesight, you have to have spiritual discernment. And your faith is weak, it must be tried with fire. And love must infuse your faith. Then you can enter in. 2 calls to Seventh-day Adventist movement. No more call. Then the probation closed the national son-in-law. Because we enter into judgment first. And as we enter the judgment, names are kept or thrown out. Kept and thrown out of the book of life. And they're going to be what? A shaking and a sifting by fiery trials. And all these apostate Adventists are going to fall away. And then God is going to make the 3rd call, the bidding to others. We're nominal Adventists. Nominal means Adventists in name only. People looking for Christ in name only, but they don't understand. There's hope for them. And all these fallen churches, God is going to call up people out by what? The loud cry of the 3rd angel. And then, friends, when probation closes for the entire world, there's going to be destruction in the world by the 7 last plagues. And many of these apostate that Seventh-day Adventists amongst us are going to be consumed with fire. Now, I want you to come back next week to discuss the workers in the vineyard. Because we're going to learn that there is something we need to do as a people. I know this even was sharp. I told you it would have been. I can't preach it another way, friends. And I make no apologies. I wish I was strong enough to preach it even stronger. But I've learned to be contented in my weakness, with all my illnesses and sickness. What are you going to do with what you hear? What are you going to do with what you hear? What are you going to do with what you hear? Shall we pray?